studying in the US. So obviously you have the academic benefit of going to the United States. The US is known for, good academics and esteemed institutions. But if you're making the time and the monetary investment to going to the United States, I'd really like to encourage you to make the most out of your experience in the United States by really getting involved with extracurricular activities and professional development opportunities. Just briefly introducing myself, my name is McKaylee and I am the International Student Recruiter at the University of the Incarnate Word, and we are located in San Antonio, Texas. I have been at UIW now for about 5 years. And I met your lovely Education USA advisors a couple years ago at a conference in Casablanca. So thank you again for having me. I'm really thankful that I get to chat with you guys. So I'll just give a brief agenda of what I'm going to chat about today. So I'd like to mention the career services that different US universities offer and provide you some examples of workshops and professional development opportunities that they have. I'll also give you some resume tips for your resume when you're in the United States. I'll talk a little bit about different student organizations you can get involved in, as well as community service. And then I'll finish by talking briefly about the programs we offer at UIW. So whenever you're looking for a university or you've decided on your university, an important question to ask is, does this university have a career center? Most of them will. They might be called something different. For example, ours is called a Career and Professional Development Center, or a career center, career services center, something along these lines. But it's very important to identify this resource at your university, even as early as your first year. You might think, oh, well, I'll look into this when I'm about to graduate. No, definitely not. You can utilize these resources as early as your first year, even your first day on your new campus. And I'll tell you a little bit about why that's important. So does your university have a career center, and what kind of services does it offer? So not only is it going to help you find your ideal career, but they're going to help you prepare for that career as well. And that's a really important thing about going to university. You want to be able to develop those skills that you'll need to be a successful professional in whatever your field is. So some examples of services that they offer would be skill building workshops. So they have these throughout the year. You usually sign up for them, and they include a variety of things, such as how to dress professionally, how to attend a formal business dinner, how to write a cover letter, how to search for jobs. So these are really important things that you can attend as early as your first year, because not only do you want the knowledge that you're going to learn in your classes, but you want to have some of those professional skills that you'll need to portray yourself well when applying to these positions. They're also going to have career advising. So say, for example, you're starting out your first year, maybe your second year, you're taking some classes, but you're still not really sure what you want to do, or maybe you haven't even picked your major yet. They're going to have a lot of different personality assessments as well as career assessments that might be able to assess your abilities and your interests and advise you on different career paths that may be suitable for you. They also do provide internship search assistance. So not only are they going to help you find a job after graduation, say, for example, you're looking for an internship to do over the summer, or perhaps even a part-time intern while you're doing your classes, the Career Services Center is going to be very knowledgeable about different opportunities available in and around the area. They're going to have connections to different companies. and they'll be able to advise you on what's available in your particular field of study. They also provide job fairs. So for example, at UIP, we'll bring employers to campus. You'll sign up for the career fair. You show up, you bring your resume, you can talk to different employers about internships, but also employment opportunities that they have available. So another service that these career services centers offer is resume review, as well as resume building workshops, which is where you can take your resume and you'll have an advisor help you with the formatting of it. So I know in the US, resumes might be formatted a little than your home country, different than other countries. And since you apply to jobs and the first thing and sometimes the only thing that employers will see prior to inviting you to an interview will be your resume. So it's really important you get the formatting correctly, because that's what they're going to notice first. And if it's not formatted correctly, they might not even read it. So here's a couple examples. The one on the left, this is just a good example of someone with limited professional experience, but they've listed at the top their name, their email, and then they have their career objective. So what they're looking for in their new position, they've listed key skills that they have. So in key skills, good things to list are any particular skills you have regarding the field that you're going into. So for example, if you're going into some sort of computer science or computer-based job, you're going to want to list any computer skills you have, like particular programming languages, or different experience you've had with these programming languages. Since you are all bilingual, that is going to be a great skill to list here in the key skills section as well. They also list their professional experience. So they're going to list any jobs they've had, if you have had positions before, or even if you've had internships at your university. This is something that you're going to want to put here. You're going to want to put the title you had, how long you've been at the position, the name of the position, and the company, and then some key things that you were responsible for at that position. So obviously you can cater this to your specific experience, and the Career Services Center will help you do that. But these are the kinds of things that you want to include on your resume. This one on the right here is a good example of a resume of a student who doesn't have a whole lot of professional experience yet, may just be entering university and is perhaps looking for a university job. So there's lots of ways to really kind of manipulate your resume to show off what's most relevant. So in this case, since this is a high school student who doesn't have a lot of professional experience, they're going to want to highlight their education, relevant coursework that they're doing that might be applicable to whatever college program they're applying for, different achievements that they have had at their high school. So this student has been a yearbook designer, a graphic designer, and perhaps they're applying to a graphic design program. Again, they want to list any additional skills they have. Since the student is looking at graphic design, he put on here that he has skills in Photoshop, Adobe Creative Suite, HTML, that kind of thing. And then he has his awards, honors, and mentions. So anything that he has competed in is a good idea, any awards that he's received. But since he doesn't have professional experience at a position, he can list these additional things here. So these are the kind of different categories that you can have on your resume, and the Career Services Center will help you refine this. So these are things that you need to include on your resume on the left here. So definitely you want to have your name at the top. You want it to be easy to identify who this resume belongs to, and you want to have your contact information. I think you can be brief with your contact information. Make sure you have your email address and your phone number so that they can contact you about a position. Another key thing to mention here is make sure your email address is professional sounding. You don't want it to be babygirl23@yahoo.com. Make sure it's simple. It has your name. For example, a good one for me would be Michaeli Jonas at Yahoo, something like that. Or, it could be Michaeli.Jonas at Yahoo, something along those lines. But you want it to sound professional and you want it to be linked to your name. A good thing at the top is include your objective. What are you trying to achieve by applying to this position? What sort of position are you looking for? What are your goals here? And it can be brief, just 1 or 2 sentences. You do want to list your education. One thing on here that I would like to note is you want to include your education. You don't necessarily need to include your GPA, or you don't necessarily need to include your graduation year either. You want to list the university, what degree that you've received, if you have a minor. Those are important things. But you don't always need to include your GPA or your graduation year unless they ask for it specifically. Again, any relevant skills that you have pertaining to the position. If you're applying to a photography position and you have experience using different photography software, different equipment, that's good things to include. You will want to include the fact that you're bilingual because that's very attractive to employers. So any language skills you have. And then relevant keywords to include in your resume. So for example, like I mentioned, language proficiency or relevant trainings, unique skills. So when you are looking at a different position, you might want to look at the requirements and the job description and see what kind of key things they're looking for and use those same type words in your resume. So if they're looking for someone who speaks Arabic, make sure to include the word Arabic in your resume. If they're looking for a computer science engineer or computer science, some sort of position, and they're looking for somebody who knows the Python programming language, you're going to want to use that keyword in your resume. So things they are looking for, you want to make sure stand out on your resume. You do want to include your professional experience, any jobs or internships you've had, and what you've been responsible for at those positions. You can also write down any honors or achievements that you've received. If you've gotten any awards, any particular nominations, if you've published any research, if you've done any important submissions or competitions, these are good things to include on there as well. I would make sure they're relevant though. So if you've got in photography and you're applying for a job in engineering, might not be the most relevant thing to include there. So again, just make sure it's relevant information. Any other experience that you want to include? For example, if you are a new graduate, you're just now getting your bachelor's degree, perhaps you don't have a whole lot of work experience yet, you can include relevant coursework. So again, going back to my example of computer science, if you're applying to a job in computer science, you can list different courses you've taken in data and programming and networking and cybersecurity, any relevant things that you think they're going to want to see that you've had particular trainings in. If you have any kind of special certifications, if you're applying to be a teacher and you have the teaching English as a foreign language certification, you'll want to include that on there as well. So here are a few things that you should not include in your resume. And I know this varies by country to country. So in some countries, maybe this is required, but in the US, it is not. And you want to kind of stick to that format that the US job market is looking for. So don't include a photo. They don't need a headshot. You don't want to indicate that on your resume. You also do not need to include your birth date or your age. So in the United States, employers are not allowed to discriminate based on age. So you don't want to really give anything here that will indicate how old you are. You don't need that on here. You also don't need to list any dependents, any family history, or your marital status. None of this is relevant for the job position. And again, employers can't discriminate based on any of this information. So it's just important to not include it here. You don't need to say that you're divorced, that you're bringing dependents to the United States, nothing like that. You don't need to include that here. Also, hobbies or fun facts, while they may be very interesting and you may have some really great ones, you also don't need to include that on your resume. And just really any other personal information, they want to know who you are as a professional. What are you going to contribute to the job position? They don't really need to know anything other than that on your resume specifically. If there's something else they ask for or that you want to include in the job interview, that's a different story, but you don't need to include that on your resume here. Again, going back to the examples that I had, in general, resumes, they're pretty straightforward. They're kind of bland. So, there's not a whole lot of exciting or pizzazz here, but that's kind of how it goes. Okay, so these are some good action verbs to include in your resume. So you're going to want to talk about your experience. So if you're trying to apply to a business position, maybe you're wanting to manage a team, using some of these action verbs in your resume will kind of make it stand out and will help portray your past experience in a positive light. So you talk about things that you've coordinated, how you've delegated tasks to a team, different things you've developed, if you've directed individuals, if you've executed an amazing business plan, if you've organized events or planned different development opportunities. These are good things to include in your personal experience section. So for example, you'll include the name of the company and the position that you had. And then you'll need to list the things that you've been responsible for there. So if you've analyzed business reports or administered different programs, you've delegated a team of 10 individuals. Those are the kind of things you'd want to include in that section. If you're talking about your communication skills, things that you can use, you've authored a paper about, whatever, you've directed a production at your university TV station, you've drafted different papers or edited things, you've interpreted before, mediated, performs. Those are good action verbs to include as well. Say you're a photography major or a graphic designer or even an interior designer, and you want to include different creative skills that you've had. You can talk about things that you've designed or developed, establish. Perhaps you founded a photography club or you've integrated different software systems. Those are great action verbs to include in your professional experience section. Okay, a little trivia question for you here. You're going to a job interview. Which of the following should you do? A, wear something shiny to stand out. B, wear perfume or cologne. Or C, keep jewelry and spare change in pockets. Or D, wear solid colors. If you don't mind putting in the chat box, which should you do for a job interview? A, B, C, or D? Okay, a couple of you are saying D. All right. Are there any other guesses? What should you do for a job interview? A, B, C, or D? Mohammed says C. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, so which one of these should you do for a job interview? You should not do A. A is not correct. Wear something shiny to stand out. No, definitely not. You want to dress professionally, but also you don't really want to distract your interviewer. You want them to focus on you and what you're saying, not necessarily what you're wearing. Because then at the end of the interview, all they're going to be thinking about, like, wow, did you see that, man wearing that really shiny shirt? They're not going to necessarily remember anything you talked about. So it's important here to, not distract them away from you and what you are saying. B, wear perfume or cologne. That's actually not correct either. I mean, you want to be conscientious of, your hygiene, but wearing a bunch of perfume or cologne can also be distracting to your interviewer. C, keep jewelry and spare change in your pockets. This is also not correct either. I kind of tricked you here. So the reason this is not correct is you don't want a bunch of things in your pocket jangling and making noise every time you move. Again, that's another thing that can distract your interviewer away from what you are saying and away from like how you are acting. So you can wear some jewelry, just, be conscientious of it. Again, nothing real flamboyant. Just make sure there's nothing in your pockets kind of jangling around that can distract your interviewer. The correct answer would be D, wear solid colors. So again, you want to dress professionally, but you want it to be professional, nothing too distracting. You can wear a plaid shirt or plaid tie or a different colored tie. That's totally fine. Again, just nothing too outrageous. So again, the correct answer was D, wearing solid colors. That's a good safe option. For example, these people in the pictures on the side, those are pretty safe choices. All right, next I would like to talk about student organizations. So why am I talking about this if I'm talking about different career services? So student organizations are a great way to develop your skills. So you're going to gain skills in the classroom, but you can also gain skills through these student organizations. Also, student organizations are a great thing to include on your resume, especially if you don't have a whole lot of job experience. If you've been really involved in a student organization as an undergraduate student, or even a graduate student, that could be a thing that would go on your resume and employers could see, because it demonstrates a time commitment. It demonstrates your ability to meet and network with other students. And it demonstrates your particular interest in whatever organization that you are, joining. So additional benefits are that you can meet new friends, try new things. You can also explore interests outside of your direct field. So say you are a biology student who's doing pre-medicine, but you are really interested in music. You could join the music club, and that's a great way to, continue your hobbies, continue your interests, and even, try new things. Like perhaps you want to join a intramural sport, like a recreational sport. Say you've never played volleyball before. play intramural volleyball. And that's a great way to try that as well. It's also a really great way to share your culture with American students and other international students who may have not met anyone from your culture before. So that's a really great way to do that as well. But again, going back to the more professional aspect of student organizations, it's something you can include on your resume because it demonstrates that you have taken the time to work with this student organization. It shows that you have time management skills because you can manage both your studies while still participating in these organizations. It's also a great way to demonstrate your leadership skills, especially if you have a leadership position within the club. So many different clubs and organizations will have different positions that you can apply for or run for, such as the president of the club, also secretary or treasurer, or also like a social committee. These are different positions that you can have within the student organizations that you can list on your resume. There are many different types of organizations at universities. There are academic organizations. So what you think of as like the biology club, perhaps you're a biology student and you want to meet other students that have similar interests that are also in your program, you can join the biology club to continue to further your knowledge in that area. You can do other things that relate to your major. Our communication students, they could join the campus radio. They also have a business club, fashion society, different honors programs. They also have professional organizations. So examples of the honor societies. An honor society is an organization for high achieving academic students that have maintained a certain grade point average. They'll be invited to join this honor society. And this is a really good thing to include in resumes. They have honor societies, general honor societies for anyone who's achieved a certain grade, but they also have ones related to your field. So for example, they'll have a psychology honor society or perhaps like a communications. They even have an international honor society. Other examples of professional organizations you can join would be the American Medical Association, if you're a science pre-med student, the American Institute of Graphic Arts for graphic design students. So these are professional organizations that have a national following and a national network that you can join and gain membership to. And then there are some of the fun organizations, such as athletic organizations. So have different levels of sports at universities. They have team sports, which are the highly competitive ones where you're doing a lot of training, you're competing against other schools. But they also have club sports. Club sports would be semi-competitive sports where you are still competing against different schools, but it's not quite as heavy of a time commitment. So that's a good option if you want to still compete, but spend a little more time focusing on your grades and your academics. The last type of athletic organization is intramural sports. So intramural sports are purely recreational. They're just for fun. And you're not competing against other schools or other institutions. They'll just be university students who are on teams playing against each other. And these are mostly just for fun, for meeting other students, and for staying active. So intramural sports aren't necessarily anything to include on your resume, but I wanted to include it here because it is a great way to meet new people, also stay active, and again, share your culture. So really the intramural sports probably wouldn't be anything to include on your resume unless you do have some sort of position leadership responsibilities there, such as like a team captain. There are also social organizations, social groups. So an example of this would be student government. If you're really passionate about the school and making it a great place for other students, student government would be a good thing for you to join. You can be kind of an ambassador. You could also have a leadership position such as president of the student government. And that's a good thing to include on your resume as well, because it shows you're passionate about the school. You have some of those leadership skills, that somewhat political background as well. Another great thing to join is the International Student Club. Since you're coming from another country to the United States, perhaps for the first time, this is a great thing to join if you want to meet other students who are going through the same thing that you are, who are coming and leaving their home country for the first time. Greek life is basically different social organizations that you can join. They have kind of their own process, their own rituals, their own events. Those are things you can join as well. There's peer mentor programs. There's interfaith clubs. If you are wanting to meet other students from your religion, for example, you can join the interfaith club, which has students from all religions. Some universities even have, Muslim students organizations, different things like that as well. So again, student organizations are a really great way to get involved. Benefits of those are meeting new friends, trying new things, but you can include it on your resume, and even get some leadership skills from them. Okay, the last thing I'd like to mention that you can include on your resume is community service. So what is community service? Community service is anything that you're doing that is not paid. You're purely volunteering to do the work and not expecting any kind of monetary value coming from that. So with community service, you can volunteer with your friends or with a student organization. I'll give you an example. At UIW, our students are required to do community service. So there's several days that we have throughout the year where different student organizations will volunteer throughout the city. And you can volunteer with your favorite student organization. Say you're in the biology club and the biology club is going to an animal shelter. You can do that. They have community service opportunities available for you both on campus and off campus. So if you don't want to go off campus, perhaps you don't have a car, you would want to, do something close to you. On campus opportunities vary. Again, you can still volunteer with a student organization. Some examples would include helping host events on campus. Different offices will host different multicultural events on campus, and they often need student volunteers to help with setup, help sign students in, help register. These are great ways to get community service from the university. Other examples that you could do off campus include environmental cleanup. We've had students go to parks before and clean up, trash to help make the community nicer. You can volunteer at animal shelters, rescue shelters, local schools. A lot of times elementary schools need mentors for some of their younger kiddos, need help tutoring some of their students, or even just going to the school to talk about your culture. For example, at UIW, we have different elementary schools that we work with, as well as high schools. And we will organize international days where we have our international students dress in their home country's attire, traditional attire, perhaps bring some snacks and a presentation to talk about their home culture. So we've had a variety of different countries represented at these elementary schools. And this is a great way to introduce your culture to elementary students, young kids who might never have heard of it before. So it's a really great way to build awareness, and we do award community service hours for those students. Is it a great way to meet new people, help your new community? And these are things you can include on your resume as well. Employers are going to be really interested to know that you've spent so many hours helping the environment, or, particular things that you've done. So I'll give a summary of what I've talked about today. So when you are looking for universities, when you're going to university, make sure your university has a career center and that you know where it is and what services they offer. And be sure to take advantage of those as early as your first year. You can go to the career center, gain additional guidance into what field you want to go into, what types of employment opportunities are there available, what are you going to be working towards. You also really want to, build your skills. So how is your university going to prepare you for your career? Because going to university anywhere, particularly the US, it's more than just your classes. How are you going to mold yourself into the professional that is, going to be successful in your field? So you are going to want to do a lot of those skill building opportunities, like those workshops, those resume reviews, those job fairs, different networking events. Really be sure to take advantage of all of these free resources that your university provides. I also went over what you should add to your resume and what not to include on your resume. Resumes can be tricky. I mean, even for students and for professionals that have been in the job market for a long time, resumes are kind of tricky. So definitely take your resume to your career center and have them advise you on the formatting, the grammar, the spelling, additional things that you might need to include in there. So definitely, they're a great resource. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Also, learn about how you can get involved on campus. Again, academics are important, your classes are important, but if you're coming all of this way to the United States to get your education, you want to be involved in as many things as you can easily manage. You want to focus on your grades, especially your first year. Your grades are really important. And you want to manage your time efficiently. But getting involved is important because, you want to meet other people. You want to further develop those skills. You want to find things you can include on your resume. And you want to get involved in the community, learn more about the culture, share your own culture. Okay, now that I have chatted extensively, hopefully you're not bored with me yet. I know we're kind of running late on time, so I would just briefly like to mention the opportunities that we have at UIW. And Marwa, Sana, if I am going too long, feel free to stop me at any point. So just a brief overview of the institution that I work for, University of the Incarnate Word. We say UIW for short. We are located in San Antonio, Texas. If you're not familiar with Texas, you should be. No, I'm just kidding. Texas is a great place, but it's far south United States, and we are in the south of the state. So south of the south, here kind of where the star's at. UIW was founded in 1881, so it's been around a while. It is a private university with about 8,600 students. So therefore, we are classified as a medium-sized institution. We offer small class sizes. So our student-to-teacher ratio is 11:1, meaning for every 11 students, we have a faculty member on the team. So your average class size is only going to be about 25 students. And in your third and your fourth years, when you get into some of those more advanced classes, they might be even a little smaller. So this is great, especially for our international students who are coming to the US for the first time, because it's more hands-on, it's more engaging. You'll get better access to the faculty. You'll get to know your peers and your classes better. And the people in your program better. And it's a little less overwhelming than some institutions. For example, some big public state schools, you might have 100 or 200 students in your first year classes. That will never happen here. So again, a little less overwhelming, but it really just depends on what your learning style is. If you prefer having a ton of students in your classroom, that's totally fine. But something to look at when you're looking at these different institutions is class size for sure, because that'll give you an indication of how close you'll be able to get to the faculty. Which personally I think is important. You want your faculty members to know your name so they can help track your progress. get to know you on a personal level. So whenever you're graduating and you're going on to, the professional world or even maybe graduate school, and you need a letter of recommendation, these professors are going to know you well enough to really be able to write you really great letters of recommendation, really know all of the things that you've accomplished on campus. UIW does have students from 80 different countries, so it is very diverse. We have about 23% of international students. And if you're interested in sports, we are NCAA Division I for athletics. That is the most competitive level. I would like to talk a bit about San Antonio. San Antonio is a wonderful city. I know I'm a little biased because I'm from here, but it is great. It's a wonderful city. We get really positive feedback from international students who are coming here for the first time. They really value the diversity that San Antonio has, but also how friendly everyone is. In general, it's a very welcoming place, especially for international students. It is a large city. It's the 7th largest city in the United States. So you have kind of the best of both worlds here. You have that strong community feel on campus, while you have all of the resources of a large city. Our campus is very centrally located, about 5 to 10 minutes from downtown. So you're very close to all of the famous sites like the Riverwalk and the Alamo. We have about 300 years worth of history in San Antonio. I know that is absolutely nothing compared to the Middle East. That is very new. But for the United States, 300 years is pretty old. So we do have a lot of history here in San Antonio, including a lot of World Heritage sites. So definitely a lot of great places to explore. As far as industry goes, we're a very large business as well as finance hub. Our other major industries would include healthcare, manufacturing, computer science, lots of different opportunities there. We have received a special designation from both Travel and Leisure as well as National Geographic for being a top place to travel. These are all of the undergraduate programs we offer. There are many listed here, so I won't make you read all of them. I'll just mention some of our popular programs would be business, computer information systems, engineering. We have a lot of the art and design programs, such as 3D animation and game design, communication arts, graphic design, interior design. We also have a lot of the science and pre-health, pre-medical fields. These are the graduate programs that we offer. We offer master's degrees in different types of education, as well as communication arts, nutrition, and we have a great MS accounting program and an MBA business administration, master of business administration program. At the PhD level, we offer a doctoral degree in education with several concentrations. And then we have professional programs that lead to doctorates as well in optometry, pharmacy, and physical therapy. A little bit about the university experience at UIW. We have over 100 student organizations, so many different things to get involved in. We also have a great international student ambassadors program. Wherever you end up at university, I highly recommend that you look into to see if they have one of these programs. It might be called something different. Ours is called the International Student Ambassadors. It could be called a buddy program or a mentor program or some kind of student ambassador program. But this is where new students will be paired with a current student. And that current student has been at the university for at least a year and can help show you around. But that way you have a friend already when you get started. And they can help show you around. They can help get your ID, move into your dorm room, that kind of thing. We do typically have free airport pickup as well as a week-long international orientation. Our international orientation is a few different morning information sessions that are required for our new international students. And that's just where we introduce you to all of the fabulous resources we have available to you on campus. The rest of the week is just fun optional events for you to make friends and to get to know your community before your classes even start. So this really helps facilitate that transition to life in the United States. Some universities will require you to go to orientation. Some of them will not. My best advice for you, whether or not it's required, go to orientation, go to welcome week, go to all of those new student events. Definitely do. That's where you're going to meet friends. That's where you're going to try new things. That's where you're going to get accustomed to your new environment. And it's where you're going to meet other international students who are coming to the US for the first time as well. So you're not alone. You're going to have other people who are making this big life change as well. Definitely participate in orientation wherever you go. At UIW, we do have cultural excursions throughout the year. We do a free city tour. We have a hiking trip. We go to the rodeo. We take a trip to the Texas Capitol building, and professional sporting events as well. In addition to the NCAA team that I mentioned, we also have club sports, which again, there are semi-competitive, and then intramural sports, which are just for fun. We do have 10 different on-campus residence halls to pick from, but it is not required. Many universities will require you to live on campus for your first year. We do not require it. However, I would highly recommend it, especially for your first year, since you are coming to the United States for the first time. You don't necessarily know your way around yet. So living on campus is a very convenient option. You can walk to your classes, you can walk to the dining hall to get food, and that way you're on campus for all of those wonderful student events that are going to be happening. So I do recommend it for your first year. I did get a question in the chat box asking us if most of our students live on campus. In general, no. We have a lot of students that live off campus. That's because we do get a lot of students from the San Antonio area. So we have a lot of students that live at home and commute. We do get a lot of students that starting their second year, they'll meet some friends, move off campus to an apartment. That's common too. But I would say of our international students, especially for their first year, live on campus. If you are interested in applying with us, you can apply online on our website or the Common App. There is no application fee. We do have rolling admission, meaning there are no deadlines. You can apply at any time. For undergraduate students, once you apply, you'll get your acceptance letter along with your scholarship offer about 1 week. So it's a really quick turnaround time, which is good. For graduate students, it depends on the program you're applying to, but it'll be about 2 to 3 weeks. So still pretty quick. Requirements to apply. We just need you to submit the online application. And if you're applying to an undergraduate program, so you're currently a high school student applying for your first degree, we will need a copy of your high school transcript, as well as proof of English proficiency. Those are the only 2 things we need for the application. We will look at your overall high school grade point average. We do not require an essay or the SAT, ACT. If you are applying to a graduate program, you will need to provide transcripts from all universities that you've attended previously. We'll need to see transcripts from your first degree, as well as proof of English proficiency. So similar, we'll need those 2 main things for the application. Other requirements vary by program. So if you have a specific program you're looking for, just reach out and I can let you know if there's any additional requirements. So proof of English proficiency here, we accept several different things. You can take the TOEFL, the IELTS, the Duolingo. I would like to note here, if you've not heard of Duolingo yet, it's something to look into. Many universities are now accepting this. So it's a good option because it's relatively cheap. I don't remember the cost. I think it's about $50, but you can take it from home. So it's a convenient option. Other ways to show proof of English proficiency: if you're an undergraduate applicant and you've done the IB diploma or the US diploma at your high school, you will not need that exam. If you're a graduate student and you've received your degree in the United States, your bachelor's degree in the United States, that will waive the requirement. We do have scholarships available. So for undergraduate students, since we are a private university, it is a little more expensive for the year. Our tuition is $31,800 US for the year. We do have merit scholarships that go up to $20,000 per year, and that will be deducted from the tuition cost. This scholarship is solely based on your high school grade point average, and you'll earn this scholarship automatically when you apply. It's not a separate application. Graduates, the tuition is going to be about $18,000 to $20,000 for the year. It may vary depending on how many classes you take in the year, but that's the standard if you take 9 credit hours for each semester. Those are for our master's programs. We do have a 15% diversity scholarship that will be applied towards the tuition that you're automatically eligible for as an international student. If you are interested in applying, here is the link. It's bit.ly/UIW apply international. That application should only take about 15 minutes. We just mostly need your background info. I'll leave this up for just a second, and then I will put up my contact information, and then we can move on to Q&A if you have any questions. This is our website, uiw.edu/international admissions. On our website, we have some more information, including a video, as well as the different requirements for the different programs. But I would like to mention a really great opportunity we have here to chat with current UIW students. So this is an awesome way to talk to international students who are already here at UIW. We have some international, some American students. We have about 15 different students available for you to chat with, all from different programs and from different countries. You can search by country or you can search by program. And you can ask them questions to get the student perspective on life at UIW. And there are mostly international students too, who have already gone through the same process that you're about to go through. So you can ask them questions about that. You know, what was it like for you to transition to life in the United States? You know, did you have any culture shock? Did you make friends? These are all great questions to ask these student ambassadors. So again, just hop on our website, uiw.edu/international admissions, and feel free to start a conversation with any of our wonderful student ambassadors. I know they would love to talk to you guys. Last up, I'll include my contact information here. I'll leave it up for a second if you want to take a picture or write it down. I am very active on WhatsApp. This is my direct WhatsApp number, so this will go to me directly. And you can feel free to reach out at any time to ask questions, or if you have any questions about the application and like some assistance with that. My email address, as well as our social media channels. We have YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. It's just uiw.international, and we do like to post about student events happening on campus, as well as student testimonials and faculty spotlights, program highlights as well. So I'll leave this up. I'll move to the chat. All right. Any questions?
I think we have a few questions.
Great.
If you're up to answering, 2 or 3 questions before we sign off.
Definitely.
Great. There's a question, I think, that came through our Facebook page. What type of, before that, how can I apply for extracurricular activities with my academics in college?
Okay.
Basically,
Yeah.
how do I balance extracurricular activities with my academic work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So typically, there's not any special requirements for student organizations. They're free and they're open to all students, such as those clubs like, the biology club or the special interest clubs, the social groups, that kind of thing. Those are typically, free to join, open to anybody. They'll have meetings throughout the semester, and they may have requirements that you need to attend, a certain number of meetings in order to be an official member, which kind of makes sense. If you never show up to their meetings, then, you're not going to be a great member. You're not going to know what's going on. But other than that, there's typically no requirements. Many universities will have a student organization fair towards the beginning of the semester. And this is where different organizations will come and set up tables and talk to different students about their particular organization, how to join, when they have meetings, that kind of thing. So if they have something like that, definitely go check that out so you can talk to other members of the different organizations and see what's available on campus. The exception to that would be honor societies and some of the professional organizations related to the major. These are particularly available probably through your program, and you'll get you'll get more information about those as soon as you qualify. So for the honor societies, typically you can't join those until after you've already been at the university for at least a year, and then you'll receive a special invite. If you're example in the graphic design program and you want to join the Association of Graphic Designers at like a national level, those will be available through your program, and you can ask your professors in your department about those. But again, typically most of them are, free, open to all students to attend their meetings.
Great, thank you, Michaeli. A question on extracurricular activities. Are there some extracurricular activities that might look more appealing on my college application?
Okay, that's a good question. So when you're applying to universities, all universities kind of have a different application process, a different admissions process, different things that they look at. So my best advice would be, if you are applying to a particular program, say you really want to be a graphic designer. If you have experience doing graphic design at your high school or any different organizations that you're involved in, something like that related to that major that you're applying for would be particularly appealing. But then there's other universities like UIW, we don't look at your extracurriculars. So it really depends on where you're applying. But I'd say in general, if you're applying to specific programs and you have relevant experience in organizations that relate to your program, those are good things to include on there.
Thank you. We have one question about study abroad. Does your university offer study abroad programs? And
Wonderful
yes,
question.
where?
Yes, we do have 140 different sister schools around the globe. And those are all different universities that you are welcome to attend for either a semester or a year, or we have summer programs available as well. And we have pretty much on all continents and many different countries. So yeah, definitely you are welcome to participate in those. We have some really great programs, some really awesome sister schools. Right now, our study abroad program is still active, but we do have some limitations on which countries you can go to right now, just because of the pandemic. So for example, right now, most of our students that are studying abroad are studying in Korea. They kind of have limitations on which borders are open and which have, considered low levels of COVID cases. But hopefully by the time you start university, the world will look a little better and you'll have some more opportunities like that.
Okay, we have a question, or I think 3 questions related to the PhD program. Do you offer PhD in English? And is there an age limit for applying to PhD programs? And are there grants or scholarships offered to persons who are disabled?
Okay. Awesome questions. So for our PhD program, the only PhD program we offer is in education. And the education PhD program does have several concentrations. Let me see if I can pull up that slide again. Yeah, so it's a PhD in education with these different concentrations. Unfortunately, we do not offer a PhD in English. There is no age restriction, especially with PhD programs. There's no age restriction. We have students from all walks of life. We do have the 15% diversity scholarship available. Unfortunately, at the moment, that's the only graduate scholarship opportunity that we have at the institutional level. But if you do earn any scholarships from the government or from outside organizations, from nonprofits, you can apply those towards UIW. But unfortunately, for graduate students, that's the only one we have at the moment.
I think, do you see any other questions, Marwa, that we have not covered?
No, Sana, everything is good. We have a question about sharing the links. So after today's session, we will share with you the recording link, and we will also share with you the links that Michaeli shared in today's presentation.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Michaeli. Will you share with us your final words before we sign off and wish everyone a wonderful rest of their day?
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for having me. Again, I really apologize for the technical difficulties at the beginning, but I really appreciate you having me. It's been a great experience. I really hope that it was informative for you all, and I wish you the very best wherever you end up at university. Hopefully it's UIW or hopefully it's in Texas, but if not, I really hope that you were able to gain some good information from this session that you'll be able to apply towards your student life. Again, be sure to take advantage of all of the resources that your university will provide you. And if you do have any further questions, please do feel free to contact me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and we apologize for the delay. Technical issues happen with the world of Zoom connections. Thank you so much, Michaeli, for your time, and thank you everyone for staying with us this late in the evening, wherever you are or day. Thank you so much.